Hello.
Hello.
Oh, so much better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very much so. I was wondering.
Hello.
Yes. Do you hear
You
me?
can hear me.
Yes. Do you hear
You
me?
can hear me.
Yes.
Beautiful. So
Do you hear me?
welcome. Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent.
Okay. You can hear me.
Yes, I can.
You can. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I can hear
Yes.
you too. Okay.
Good.
Welcome, Pille. It's technical challenges anyway.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Beautiful. If you are just joining us, this is the third in the series of podcasts of the Women Major Group during the High Level Political Forum 2023. And this podcast is about women voices, feminist voices, a global conversation podcast series. And today we'll be looking at how to ensure urgent action for the full gender transformative implementation of the SDGs. And with me today as a guest is Pille Tsopp Pagan. And Pille Tsopp Pagan is the Executive Director of Women's Support and Information Center, a non-profit organization based in Estonia. Okay, so Pille, you're welcome to the podcast series of the Women Major Group, a feminist voices, a global
Yes.
conversation.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you
Beautiful.
for inviting me. How do you hear me? Do you hear me well?
Okay. So now we are looking at the SDG is halfway through. This is 2023, and by 2030, it is expected that the 17 global goals will have been achieved. So we want to find out what are those issues that is making it difficult for the achievement of the SDG. What, in your opinion, are the issues around gender transformative implementation of the SDGs? In your opinion, what are the issues around gender transformative implementation of the SDGs?
Thank you
Hello,
very much.
Pile.
Thank you very much. I really hope you hear me. So yes, I wrote down notes for me because it is very important topic for myself. But and just to be clear and not forget anything, so I'm looking aside every so often. So yes, that is for sure that issues around gender transformative implementation of SDGs are there. Nobody can deny it, and we are very far from actually achieving the SDGs by 2030 if we are not taking any radical actions. And just like what is meant by gender transformative approach, it seeks to actively examine, challenge, and transform the underlying causes of gender equality rooted in social structures and institutions. So it is actually rooted in our societal everyday life. And almost all countries in the world, they have governments and institutions that are gender oppressive to the sense, because decision makers are mainly higher middle age or older men, and therefore not always voices are heard. And when decisions about everyday life of society are made, so priorities are set by one group that may have the best intentions, but they have no idea what are the needs of the underrepresented groups. So it can be that safety, logistical, or social needs are just not met because people who actually know what problems are not getting voice. So many members of society might be, and we know that they are, excluded from the public life, or they are put in danger of being targeted for who they are. So we cannot really be openly feminists in some countries, for example. So in order to have SDGs implemented in gender transformative way, first thing we need to eliminate is these inequalities. And as I see as a main issue myself, I see that it is that prevents is a lack of leaders of the countries, therefore also leaders for more organizations, not willing to give away their space of decision making because they're afraid that they might become oppressed one. But that is not the case, at least as we see that there are few equal societies in the world where actually people's social guarantees have got better when such changes have been made. For us, it is no-brainer. When everyone is equal, people are happier in society, people can contribute better into society, and as an end game, make society healthier and decreasing need for funding for social support money, for example. So I think that's a one short answer to one short question.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are still talking, I will still taking the conversation forward. You know, this is to amplify voices. This is our advocacy. And we want government and private businesses to hear us women all over the world so that they can do a lot to commit, not just commitment on paper, but commitment in action to be able to ensure that the SDGs are implemented. And women will all benefit from it. Okay, as a matter of urgency, okay, let's even look at it from this angle. What strategies of engagement will you want to see from government and private sector for the implementation of the SDGs that is gender transformative? What strategy will you want to see from government? Will you want to see from private businesses for the implementation of the SDGs that are transformative?
Thank you. Yes, it is very important that governments and leaders are taking the stand and stepping into the game of transforming. So from governments, definitely removing structural barriers to gender equality and distribute the resources and allocation of duties between men and women. So it actually starts from allocating responsibilities and rights for groups who are underrepresented. Public awareness raising from governmental side should be coming hand in hand with it, because we need to teach society why these types of changes are needed, because as we know, traditionally everything has been this way. Why do we need to change anything? Right? Life is getting better. There are less like some issues, although we as women's major group, we see how many issues there are. So pushing as much as possible towards equal representation of underrepresented people to decision-making role is a key. What can they do is, for example, providing quotas in leadership. And I know in Europe there have been studies about how, now I don't remember, more than 10 countries, what steps they have taken to provide quotas and how these quotas have actually helped political life to become more equally represented. So that is one thing. And of course, finances that are allocated to ensure that state level changes are happening. And that, I mean, also not only that state as one unit is allocating their own money, but when there are international funds available, that these international funds should also be allocated to target these particular pain points. For example, gender equality. We know, again, as I'm coming from Europe, I know that European Commission is channeling a lot of funding to industrial areas, which by nature are very far from feminist areas. They are very masculine areas, and they are barely increasing. They do minor increase, but they barely increase for the funding for feminist issues, advocacy, work, whatever. So that is something that is really necessary to redistribute the money from these masculine areas to social questions and areas. So yes, the same for global institutions or corporations. Be the champions of the change. Start with bringing underrepresented people into boards, which means automatically to hear their voices, right? because you just have to, like, you have to get the input. And just to have this kind of whitewashing, like greenwashing, that let's get one gathering, let's listen to you, and then we in the board will continue with your input. That is not helping. What helps is that people are constantly in decision making whose life is affected by it. And for corporations who are stock listed, actually it is a little bit easier to push them, because they have to have, we need to remind them that you have corporate social responsibility, which have these issues they have to be equal to. We heard last week here, World Bank said that national banks, out of 189 national banks, only 22 have equal representatives in the boards, so women in boards, which shows how much actually we are missing. So all these institutions, in addition to states, have to really look into themselves, into their policies, and implement these policies. Because often they have policies in place, but they are not implementing them well enough. So yes, from my own perspective, if you are going like more detailed or deeper, like what companies can do is, or state can do, ensure that there is parental leave, for example, that should be taken by both parents, not only mothers, but also for fathers. And in some countries it is forced, so it gives a little bit equal representative in workforce as well as households. And yes, promote people on positions where they can contribute. And yes, there should be bare minimum of social standards in every state, which all people have to benefit from. So that is, I think, like all what I say for that question now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pille. That's great. Well, as a matter of urgency, what are the key steps you want to see government take? What are those things you want government to address, which are multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination that have exacerbated COVID-19? As a matter of urgency, what are the key steps government should take to address the multiple intersecting forms of discrimination exacerbated by COVID-19?
As I said before, yes, COVID-19 definitely hurt, did not help. The gender inequality, what was already long fought, it got huge backlash. So what government should do is, in my opinion, again, to start or to continue dialogue what was pre-COVID, not to shut down dialogue with civil society and with representatives of all underrepresented people's group in the country. What they also should do is, as I said, like when we have had discussions and there are plans how to make a change, like there is theory of change that has a group of actions, like legal actions, to see and ensure that legislation is in place, legal actions are in place, securing legislations to make a change. Because when there is no adequate legislation, states say, we have this legislation, that's all, but this does not help to make a change, right? Then advocacy to be supported again by states, but also initiated by states. And states can contribute to advocacy is to collect data. Here also in high-level political forum, we heard in several sessions, data is a key. When you have data, you can advocate. When you have data, you can show progress also. So, but states must be giving the information, or must be giving the address. Now we need to collect this data. now I started hearing my voice background. Collaboration, as I said, all stakeholders should be involved in discussions and change making from their own angle. So governmental organizations, inside country institutions, civil society, community level, community frontrunners, everybody should be there and should be heard. And then funding, as we spoke in previous point, that funding is crucial, and when previous points are in place, then actually funding is following, because everything needs funding. I don't know if we have voice back copy issue.
Hello, Pille. Good. Okay, thank you very much. The network has not been very friendly today. Okay, but we thank God we are getting close to the end of the podcast. Okay. For the SDGs to benefit all, especially women, for the SDG to benefit all, especially women, girls, and gender diverse people, what policies and actions will accelerate progress towards achieving Agenda 2030?
I think several of them I already said beforehand, that it has to be tackled politically, and also that cooperation should be done in all levels, like in UN level, state agreeing, in regional level, continental level, that one continent agrees to work one way, state and community level. So these are not exactly policies, but this is way of working that should be done, that benefits to all, and that is making most efficient to implement policies that are needed for gender equality or for actually achieving the SDGs. So yes. For me, as I said previously mentioned, introducing and implementing quotas in leading positions is number one. After that, these people start negotiating which would be next stages of change. Some countries have already initiated and using gender budgeting. So that is something also to be implemented and used more in countries. Gender budgeting, yes. Equal representative, making sure that equal representative is in all levels of society. Public education and awareness raising from the state together with civil society would be very, very crucial, because explaining to people what is happening is important. And my own wish, which is not policy, but generally, involve men and boys in advocacy as much as possible, because there are many men who are supporting the cause, supporting the change to gender equality, and they can be very vocal and good advocates for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pille. Well, it has been an interesting time talking today on this series. I just your final word on how to ensure that how to ensure urgent action for the full gender transformative implementation of the SDGs. Can you give us your final word? on how to ensure urgent action for the full gender transformative implementation of the SDGs?
I think we as Women's Major Group and we as civil society are very strong advocates for change, and we have to ensure that countries and governments are working, keep working. So let's be vocal and let's be working towards it as hard as we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, this is where we'll draw the curtain for today's podcast series. Well, if you just joined us, never mind, you never missed much. Please follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook at Women Majors Group. And this video is there, so you can go back and listen to it, and you get the entire interview series of what Pille has been able to say and how to ensure the urgent action for the full gender transformative implementation of the SDGs. If you just join us, Pille Tsopp Pagan is the Executive Director, Women Support and Information Center, a non-profit organization based in Estonia. Well, Pille, on behalf of the Women Major Group, I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming, for agreeing to be part of this podcast series. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good luck with next month.
So on this note, I want to say, everyone keep in touch. Don't touch the dial of this live series. We'll come again tomorrow with a fresh episode, with a fresh message and a new guest. And please do follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Women Major Group. Thank you, Pille. I'll see you again.